还是你这一次？
我现在也吃不了。
And back onto the Rift we go for our matchup for Alpha Esports as well as Hong Kong Attitude. Looks like we were able to resolve our tech issues very fast. I think faster than production was even ready for. But nonetheless, we're on to the Rift. Of course, this is very much a do-or-die matchup for both of these squads, considering pretty much a win here separates them in the standings as well as gives you a little bit of a gap between Berjaya and Nova Esports.
Yeah, this game potentially opening up the standings quicker than we saw a certain someone with moisturized hands trying to open a pack of confectionery. You didn't even smile at that one.
What?
I'm actually sad.
I'm
What?
sorry.
Did you not watch the Machi guess the champion forfeit?
I'm also making sure everything doesn't burn down on the back end of this, all right, Briz? There's a lot
All right.
happening, remember that. But yeah, I do mean the lotion and everything. I know what you're excited about, because I think this is the first time we have had the Glacial Senna come out.
Yeah, honestly, it was standard when she was playing Fast Senna initially, then people swapped to Grass plus Mallet. I like the fact we're seeing it again, because when you apply that consistent, reliable slow onto the Callista, as you very well know, you slow Callista, her auto attacks are slowed, her leap distance is hampered, and it's a really difficult time for Weilun to navigate this lane.
Yeah, and Weilun, unfortunately, too, hasn't always looked to be the star when it comes to Alpha, especially in the early portions of the game, has been oftentimes down in CS. This is very much an opportunity for him to at least get himself an early lead and be able to hopefully maintain that. You are going up against a Senna that early on shouldn't be able to shut you down early, but that has been the case. But speaking early aggression, we wanted to see it out of this Graves alongside the Silas because they should be getting priority right away.
Yeah, World 6 starting at the enemy red buff there. Quick cleanup on that. Courtesy take of the race as well. We said back in Champ Select, sorry, Raptors. I'm still living in Season 2 for some reason. We said back in Champ Select, this Graves clears so much faster, so he should be ganking sooner and immediately just making his presence felt. Not a flash forced, not a kill taken, but additional pressure onto Moonblack will help Chen9 hold down that incredibly volatile HKA mid laner. Hooked.
Death into a Flay, but unfortunately not a whole lot of follow-up coming out just yet from the bot side of Alpha. Considering the fact that we did see this matchup earlier on in the day where it does kind of become more or less Orianna favored past that level 6 because she's able to just have that range advantage. We do see Holo at least trying to get an invade, but Bush already down to try and provide safety as Chen9 not relenting down in mid lane.
Yeah, Chen9's pressure there, meaning that Moonblack cannot follow to reinforce his jungler, and because Bush has come down as well, it means that Holo has to cede not only the Scuttle, but he already lost his Raptors, he already lost his Red, and this is one very, very sad set jungle. You're now seeing where the set is kind of shoehorned into the jungle role when they picked it as a flex. It's like, yeah, the worst of a best case situation, and it's not really optimal when put into this position anymore.
And it doesn't feel good too, especially when the fact that Holo is now forced to play on toward the top side of the map, which you're up alongside your Ornn. Necessarily getting an Ornn ahead, not as, you know, it doesn't feel as good as maybe getting, say, Moonblack in the mid lane going or Eminem early, and it gives up Dragon control, which has often been, you know, what should automatically come to Hong Kong Attitude because they put so much pressure toward the bot side.
Strong side Ornn, you gotta love it. It's, yeah, not optimal, honestly, but hey, if you rack up enough armor and do keep Chen9 down, perhaps you find yourself ungankable. Already, I'm a little bit hesitant for Alpha's top side just because Wukong plus Graves shouldn't be able to pressure Ornn past the first recall. But that being said, we now have another invade on the bot side.
Lots of pings coming out here. Some question marks, too, as World 6 got himself on the wrong side of the map. Your San, though, is nearby, and that'll keep him safe as they just want to try and get rid of some of that vision that was laid down ahead of the first Cloud Drake to spawn here in the next 10 seconds.
So actually, two things I do want to touch on in regards to this bot lane. You saw the early sweeper come through, but here's another fight.
Because again, Flay out from the Descents, in comes Weilun, but over the side, they might try and turn this one around if you're on the side of HKA, but nope, have to backtrack underneath the tower as the stun lands onto Weilun, but still, not a lot of damage being slung out by either squad.
Yeah, Alpha consistent use of the sweeper at level 1
Lord.
got them control of that tier 1 bush and got them able to reinforce their jungler.
And World 6 is trying to hunt down Holo at this point. In comes the Haymaker with the flash. Will be able to get himself back to safety. Meanwhile, mid lane still pressure unrelenting at this point as both mid laners trading back and forth.
This is the most bloodbath of a 0-kill game that I've experienced in recent history. Let me tell you that much, Opal. Really good rotations aggressively coming through from Alpha here. Consistent invades on that weak set jungle that we mentioned. And just, yeah, unrelenting on that pressure being applied. The bot lane, consistent shove after taking control of that tier 1 brush thanks to the red trinket. Once Thresh has control, he's never going to cede it because he just threatens you with a hook. And yeah, Alpha in a very good position right now.
And Holo, he's just starting to fall more and more behind. This is still only a level 3 set at this point, which, you know, World 6 almost has his ultimate coming online, and it feels like HKA's primary win condition that we saw even back in spring has been completely stunted.
Wait, strong side Ornn is actually wrecking this Wukong.
Well, about to say, welcome to the game that you probably did not expect to take place the way it has, as now Cardis, we did mention, this guy's skilled. He's, you know, up at the top of Korean Challenger on one of his accounts, and he plays with like 70 ping, and he's currently wrecking Bush in the top lane with Ornn.
Yep, getting these deep invades as well, and as I mentioned, when you pick 2 of the same damage threat into Ornn, he just stacks that resistance. Usually armor or magic resist. Armor, easy. Forge Fire Cape, first item into the glacial, the Frozen Fist. Really, really beautiful for Karthus to execute on. HKA, though, need to reinforce this red.
Yeah, they realize, all right, Holo, if he gets caught out here by World 6, he will likely just get ripped apart already, as that's 2 longswords in favor of World 6. With that much pressure being exerted toward the top side of the map, we could still see Alpha look to try and set up for this Drake as Chen 9 gets the push in toward mid and maybe trying to find a collapse here if Moonblack comes around the corner.
Yeah, Holo level 4 still really unfortunate for him. We'll see, Alpha.
There is no escape from this Alpha squad. They just want to hunt down poor Holo, and finally they're able to find the mark. It's going to be first blood going on over to World 6 on the Graves.
Bit of a clumsy rotation from HKA there because they commit their support and their jungler and their mid to a red buff contest at 7 minutes. It means by the time they're rotating back to bot lane, they don't have first rotation to the Herald. You knew they were bot side, you knew they were taking that weird path into the lane, and you knew you could shut them down on the side of Alpha.
And there you go, World 6 starting to look to make a repeat for himself from his debut on the Graves, already picking up first blood as well as the first dragon for Alpha.
31 CS lead for this Graves over his counterpart. Holo just not having the time of his life here. And honestly, this guy is someone we hyped up as the best jungler in the league, potentially. HKA, we said they're a mid-jungle duo-centric team, largely focused on the jungle, unlike the other teams in the league with a similar identity. Holo is the major carry here, has been the consistent threat, and yet this game, he is being shut out immediately.
And it's all done from, you know, this constant aggression coming out of World 6, so this is kind of the start we were looking for. And like you mentioned, this feels like a game that there should be more kills, but only now has our first blood taken place. And now question becomes for Hong Kong Attitude. I have to ask you, Briz, how do you try and get yourself back into this kind of game? Because it feels like, you know, Holo has been stunted. We're not going to see a whole lot of action from him until probably, you know, third dragon. What does HKA have to do?
Honestly, at this point, they're just looking to scale up on the Orianna and the Senna. That's why you see them just chilling in the bot lane anyway and not making any attempt at contesting this lane swap. It means that they're just happy to sit back, cede a couple of objectives in exchange for securing a plate and securing some degree of scaling here. They give up the Herald for it, but hey, it's fine as long as you get some gold on Orianna and some gold on Senna.
There you go. Scuttle also taken here. World 6 being efficient as he possibly can. Holo's still just coming out of the base, and with that, World 6 complete objective control as Rift Herald, as well as hitting level 8, 3 levels ahead of Holo at this point.
Yeah, this is actually pretty troubling for Holo now that, you know, he got choked out of his early camps, he's getting choked out of the later camps of the neutral objectives, and really the HKA jungler, short end of the stick on who gets to receive the not super spectacular set pick. I'm looking over at HKA though, and as we mentioned, they didn't contest that Herald. That's thematic of the farming Senna, because she needs the farm, she needs the souls, and that means she hates rotating around the map even more so than the fasting version of the champ.
I was about to say, you know, Senna isn't necessarily known for her mobile roaming to come out in the early game to try and contest onto a Rift Herald, especially that she has only just now picked up her mana. Not going to be doing a whole lot there, just trying to scale that up as time goes on.
Yeah, and of course HKA now opting into that late game scaling. It's a little bit rough, but it does give you an insurance policy. Kind of puts the pressure on Alpha to be able to cleanly close, which has been an issue of theirs, because you see them getting huge numbers, getting the first blood, getting the first tower, but still losing these games through inability to transition that massive lead into a mid-game close.
Well, that's now the question here for Alpha, if they're going to be able to actually do just that. You have Rift Herald on World 6, so maybe they want to try and knock down one of these turrets early, get some turret plating going, and also get Prio on toward this second dragon as, again, World 6, he has got the blood scent of Hollow at this point, just tracking him back through the jungle, and this has pretty much... It's just sterilized HKA at this point. It feels like there's nothing they can really do, and they just have to try and hold on as best as they can.
Yeah, Orianna can never leave mid lane. Set can't even farm his jungle at this point, and if you crack open the spot lane tier 1, you unlock Kalista Thresh. They're really good at finding picks. Chen9 may be looking for one of his own here.
Not going to find it, though, as it looks like HKA know better not to try and go for that fight. At least for Hong Kong Attitude, the bleeding isn't rampant for them. They're only down about 1,500 gold. They haven't lost out on any towers just yet, and Alpha haven't been able to spiral this lead out of control, considering World 6 has 2 levels in the jungle.
Yeah, genuinely, HKA can be somewhat happy with the fact that Orianna is still farming reliably. Senna doing her thing. It's not spectacular, but it is getting the job done. And World 6 continuing to apply the pressure here.
Really applying the pressure. Even using the collateral damage just to say hello, it seems here, as he's already finished off his Warrior enchant, and almost the double the CS score currently of Hollow.
Yeah, looking at Alpha right now to just continue to put the pressure down. Finally use Chen9 to actually do something. Maybe we see the Sylas coordinate a dive because he's stolen the set ult, or maybe we just see him sat in mid, matching the Orianna 1-for-1.
Yeah, maybe a little bit hesitant to try and go for a dive, but here we go. Nice root going to come out, as well as the stun not going to be procced, as in came Moonblack, at least trying to take his red buff, blue buff actually, and Shockwave going to come through, but World 6, he doesn't care a whole lot. Goes ahead, takes the buff, and walks away, and that's just the fact that Hollow can't even back up his mid laner trying to take a buff.
Yeah, Moonblack really needing some help there, but Hollow had to take the chance to get some farm under his belt. Falling further and further behind on this set really comes down to just execution of a solid flank later on. You're hoping for the suplex into the Shockwave, into the magic happening for HKA, but honestly, longer these fights draw out, it just becomes less and less of a possibility short of that miracle wombo combo.
And I'm also scared here for HK now that it's going to be Infernal Soul now coming online. I still don't think they can contest the next dragon the way things are going. It feels like World 6 is always going to have this advantage, and we also mentioned too that Ornn had the advantage up toward the top lane. Well, guess what? Bush is going to be able to make impact still in toward the team fight. If anything, he's going to have that double knock-up compared to the one with the Forge God.
Yeah, Alpha, luck of the draw on the fact that this is the Infernal Soul, because it will give them a win condition as early as the 23-minute mark, and it will give them a little bit more strength towards making a convincing case for that mid-game close. Get that under your belts, and suddenly you just steamroll through these fights even harder. Cool, Carters can tank your entire team up, but if one Ornn lives while everyone else falls, no one really cares.
And now items also coming online here for Alpha, so we might actually see one of those more explosive fights, or them trying to force something, considering the fact that they have this advantage now that you have GLP for Gen 9, as well as the board completed for the Kalista.
Honestly, these single item spikes for the side of Alpha are pretty disgusting. GLP I'm not a huge fan of, but hey, it works for you. I prefer Proto Belt for additional mobility and burst, but yeah, again, just playing the Sylas more like a control mage for the early stages of the game. Chen9 not really leaving lane, just kind of matching the Orianna in the farm game. It's absolutely fine to do, especially when World 6 is securing himself such a massive lead organically.
And that 2K lead primarily on World 6 is poor Hollow. He can't even take a single Raptor with that Haymaker. World 6 is taking literally everything from him at this point. This is a broken man in the jungle for Hong Kong Attitude.
So Graves, Karthus, Nidalee typically clear camps, like 5 camps for every 3 of the enemy jungler. This Graves has cleared like 5 for every 1, and here's some clear coming out in the top lane.
Clear coming out, and just enough to do so. Bot lane is going to at least get pushed back here by Hong Kong Attitude, and it looks like Bush is just going to let this go away. So maybe an opportunity here for Hong Kong Attitude to find themselves some gold back in their pocket, but that does open up Rift Herald once again for World 6 and Alpha Esports.
Yeah, First Blood Tower, it's rare that HKA get it, it's rare that Alpha lose it, but the stars do align for HKA here. Alpha, though, as you said, gonna get that second Rift Herald, use it to crack open mid, and suddenly you can fish for even more aggressive picks around a stealthed Wukong to the backline, around a Thresh Kalista just rotating around the map, and really just shut down HKA at any moment possible.
Yeah, because that first tier tower mid's kind of that last bastion of hope for Hollow when it comes to map control, because once that kind of gets broken apart, Alpha will just push in, and if you thought he was already having a bad time, it only gets worse.
Yeah, absolutely that. Suddenly you lose access to your Raptor camps. Granted, he didn't have much access to them anyway. And yeah, just really rough time because, yeah, you face check, Thresh hook to the face, Kalista full commitment with the Fate's Call. All gonna be doom and gloom for HKA if the momentum is in Alpha's favor. That being said, couple of minutes right now while Alpha are taking some crazy resets for some second items in their inventories does mean that you do have some solid time to farm for the HKA carries.
So a little bit of breathing room here for HKA, but you do see Chen9 has stolen away the Call of the Forge God, so they may be looking for a fight here. Hollow's gonna try his best, but honestly he should just walk away. Call of the Forge God gonna get a nice double knock-up in onto Moonblack, and there's your kill. World 6 finding his second one of the game. Flash on forward with the death sentence, not gonna be able to land. Did get the flay, but Hollow able to get himself back to safety. Wing putting up the shield just in case.
And this is what we said, the Sylas direct counter to the Ornn. 2 screens away, engage, big AP scaling on that one. Knocks down Moonblack before he even has a chance to press his flash. And because the mid laner is dead, the wave clear is gone, Senna can't do anything, this Herald is coming.
And Descends lands immediately onto Wing. In comes that suplex from the side over from Hollow, but unfortunately it's just not enough. Call the Forge God going to be used, but Cardis has to back off before he can even use it. Onto the Haymaker comes out Hollow. Bush onto that backline. Cardis gets thrown on back. Cardis able to get himself taken down as Yurson able to find it. Moonblack though, with a 4-man shockwave, looks to try and turn back the fight, but there just isn't enough damage from HKA. They're split apart. Can Chen9 fall? No, he won't. And what little hope there was for Hong Kong Attitude rested on Moonblack, but it's instantly dashed away. Eminem trying to get himself back to safety. He will, but Alpha continue with the push.
Super clean 4-man shockwave to almost save HKA's team fight. The follow-up, however, was 2 screens away, and there was no salvaging that one. HKA, they lose the fight, they lose the mid, they lose the Drake, and suddenly Alpha are 1 step closer towards closing this game out around that 25-minute mark.
Yeah, you can see it in your picture-in-picture. That's going to be the 3rd dragon secured by Alpha Esports. But take a look back here. Once they lost that mid lane, you see Alpha not afraid to jump the trigger to pull it and try and get on top of them. But Moonblack, massive flank on this Orianna, which just wasn't enough.
Yeah, unfortunately not huge on the items right now. It's a solid chunk of damage, like 2/3 of Wayland's health, half of everybody else's. Not enough. Still needs to rack up the items. Still can't really do much when the Senna is, yeah, cool, single targeting the Graves for like 10 damage in auto. Just not too much HKA can do unless that situation repeats itself in 10 minutes time. Alpha, however, looked to close long before then.
And now you get to see Alpha get this massive injection of gold. Now picking up Zonias for that Sylas, as well as working toward the Runans for the Kalista. At least for Eminem, answering back, has picked up his Black Cleaver, so has his second item at least online for that Senna, but still going to be a while.
Yeah, the single item spikes for Alpha were insane. Second items, however, do make HKA have a convincing case for actually taking some of these fights, especially when you consider Ornn upgrades are gonna start to pile through. That being said though, Infernal Soul 3.5 minutes away, so HKA only have that much longer to continue to farm towards their second items, where they can actually take the fight to Alpha.
Because that's the thing, that's your timer in the top left if you're an HKA fan. 3.5 minutes, and whatever you got is pretty much what you're going to have to work with when it comes to the next team fight. But Alpha already trying to get as much as an advantage as they possibly can, even looking for possibly a play toward the top side of the map as the tower and bot lane is going to fall.
Yeah, only negative for Alpha is that they are ridiculously short-ranged when it comes to their actual siege, so they need to convincingly win a team fight if they're gonna put any pressure down. You see a big commitment here.
Wing getting caught out. Shockwave going to land onto 3 members. In came, of course, the Senna ultimate. Almost able to turn that one around with enough damage, but see, HKA very hesitant to even try and fully commit onto that one as Moonblack very low on mana.
Yeah, and despite this hard commit from Alpha to the top half of the map, this tier 2 turret top pretty much untouched. Buying time to farm for, granted, only the Ornn, really, but it's still time that HKA more than happy to play with at this point.
And now we kind of have to fall back to, you know, what we saw at the beginning of the game, where we said, you know, for Alpha, once they are able to take down that first tier tower, they're going to be able to exert a lot of map control themselves. We already see them trying to get a vision line at least pushed in. Does get cleared out immediately, but we are starting to see that line be made by Alpha to try and at least catch out HK on a rotation.
Yeah, definitely do need to start looking for Alpha to continue to fish for picks, thresh into the backline, Fate's Call, thread a hook, use that Fog of War aggressively, and that's why you see no less than 4 sweepers in the inventory of Alpha right now.
So a bit of a calm before the storm, you could say here. And for Hong Kong Attitude, it comes down to a miracle of a team fight, or this game going on for probably 40 minutes. And then maybe you got the turnaround. Maybe you have the tools in your arsenal to try and take back this game. But it's still a long cliff to climb back up, considering how far this team was put down in the early game. And just how unrelenting so far Alpha has become. Non-stop, just committing into the jungle of HKA and siphoning everything away.
Yeah, definitely a huge ask of HKA to claw their way back into this one. Granted, Hollow on the set kind of escaped that awful early game, but now needs to make a miracle steal on this Baron power play.
Let's see, Hollow. He's 3 levels down. It seems to be a suicide mission, but we'll see. That's going to be your son. Gets the Lantern over to Bush, trying to get him closer. Call the Forge God, going to be used by Chen9, able to find that engage, but still not enough. In comes the hook onto Wing once again. The Fisher will come on down. Suplex onto the backside, and they're able to take down World 6, a majority of Alpha's gold. Now HKA with an opportunity to take an odd man fight.
1 in a million flank coming through from the set there, finds the suplex, finds the Graves, and finds HKA a little bit more breathing room. They can't quite take this Infernal yet, but they can still set up vision for it, and they keep the Shockwave if a skirmish does erupt from the side of Alpha.
And now 20 seconds here for HKA if they wish to go ahead and start up for that Infernal. Let's take a look. This is Alpha being the ones actually to call and try and make something happen.
Lantern into flash commitment from Yersan there. Really wanted to get the Wukong backline access. Instead, he finds, I believe it was like Braum plus, I don't even know, was it Senna? Something. Not a good commitment to make, and Yersan really sealing Alpha's fate with a huge overcommitment. They should also lose the Infernal as a result of that. HKA buy themselves a Drake and a little bit more time before the next Soul.
An extra 5 minutes of breathing room here for Hong Kong Attitude, but that does still mean Baron is available for Alpha if they're able to find just a single pick over on the side of Hong Kong Attitude. And you start to see, though, the thing about HKA, you are running an Ornn, so even though it is a 6,000 gold lead, those ornaments starting to now come online, looking to try and equal out the efficiency.
Yeah, definitely looking at the HKA comp as having really, really good scaling, but here's a pick at this stage.
Yersan Going in very deep once again on this Thresh, and he's going to get caught out, forced to use his stopwatch immediately. Wei Lun wants to try and throw him back into the fight. You see HKA starting to tunnel over toward the side. Bush on a flank, a big suplex coming on in, and Bloom Black gets taken on down. There's your Orianna, there's all your damage wiped from the Rift, and alongside that will be the Senna, as that's going to be a double kill going on over the Bush, and Wing will fall as well.
And what looked so promising for HKA after a Dragon secure ends up blowing up in their face. The 4 sweepers choke out the vision, force HKA to face check into the Baron power play, and Yursan, despite the last time this Thresh fished for a pick not working out, not put off, goes for it again, secures it again, and drives Alpha all the way to a teamfight victory.
And instead of a hero play, you now need some miracles to take place here on the side of HKA. That's now going to open up a 9,000 gold lead over the squad. And a good timing here for Alpha, as they'll have that for the next minutes just ahead of the next Infernal spot.
Yeah, it really does put a damper on Alpha's convincing early game, the fact they lost that Soul Point Drake, but the Baron more than making up for it. Good siege kind of remedies the short range of this comp, but they do still have to respect a crazy shockwave if it does come through. However, HKA, really immobile, squishy backline, does mean if Bush finds his mark again, gonna be a rough execution come these next skirmishes.
So I'm going to do what they can to try and delay that. We start to see now items continuing to pile in for Alpha. You have Rabadon's completed for Chen 9, so that's Silas. Big spike of damage if he's able to get on top of either Moonblack or Eminem on their squishy members over on the side of HKA. You also had the Magi's pick up there by Moonblack, currently sitting at 0 stacks now off that death. So not the best case for him. And you can just see Alpha spread across the map, push in collectively, and it's an assault on all fronts so far.
Yeah, Alpha using that Baron buff, just shoving it in. Cool, sieging 3 lanes at once, as you mentioned, and then while they apply the pressure here, they're not making huge commitments for big inhibs yet, rather just getting as much of the map in their control as possible until 2 minutes have passed, and they can then use that to translate into vision secure and eventual objective secure around that Infernal Soul.
So now Soul is going to be available here for Alpha in the next 90 seconds. We do see Moonblack going to try and do what he can to clear out these minions, and for HK, we mentioned, comes up to maybe Holo finding a massive flank or anything, possibly pull this off. But we see Alpha still continue. It's rough.
This set is just a flashier trundle at this point, honestly. Like, genuinely looking at the champ, it's a little bit of an uphill battle unless he can find backline access with a crazy flank into the shockwave. Hex Flash going to go a long way to helping with that. Now regular Flash still beautiful in tandem with the Nimbus Cloak. So we're looking at Holo to really be the catalyst towards securing HKA's teamfight victory. Issue is Alpha, as you mentioned, unrelenting, notoriously difficult to lock down, and a little bit wise to some of the crazier tricks HKA have already used this game.
There you go. Inhibitor going to be taken likely here in mid, as HK are going to try and do their best to hold, but meanwhile top lane, that's an easy push. Bot lane being pushed in as well. Like we mentioned, 3 lanes assaulted. Luckily no inhibitor taken just yet, but that does set up Alpha for them to rotate back toward the Drake. We see World 6 also getting a reset. They're going to go ahead, finish off their items, and be at peak power when it comes to this next dragon, as that's going to be spawning in 10 seconds.
Yeah, the Baron buff falling off. HKA not losing too much for it, but they did lose every structure outside of their base besides that bot lane inhib tower. Does kind of put a damper on their next foreseeable fight. Okay, yeah. I was midpoint and then bam, suddenly stolen Call of the Forge God. It's cool, Silas ult at this point, 8-second cooldown, something dumb like that, so gonna be up for this Drake fight, but HKA, knowing they need to steal it, are trying to start this one up.
So here we go. HKA actually have an inside track onto the river, but you do see Bush looking for a flank himself. You also have Chen9 positioning aggressively. World 6 over the wall with a 3-level advantage over Hollow. Up to Hollow here to be able to secure this. A nice hook, though, going to land on in, and Moonblack completely fans on the Shockwave. That is your one-win condition. Unfortunately, it's not going to go well. It's now Bush into the back line. Infernal Soul secured. Well, Hollow does take down World 6, but he trades his life in the end. Bush is also able to take down Moonblack. Teleport going toward the top lane, and that's going to be the end push coming out from Alpha.
One big fumble from the Orianna, and HKA's fate is sealed. Looked like they could contest the Infernal Dragon Soul, but in the end, it's not enough. Can't brute force a fight, have absolutely no damage, and Alpha take firm control at the 30-minute mark.
And here's your final push coming on in. Wing tries to soak up the damage as he can, but it just won't be enough. And just like that, Alpha, we said it was going to be a bloody one. It was still a quick. Under 31 minutes, they take down HKA and advance to a 6-7 scoreline.
Really solid early game from Alpha. A little bit of a fumble come the mid game, but then they still managed to pressure it home. HKA never really had a chance to come online, and that failed Shockwave really did just seal their fate towards the end of that one.
Yeah, Moonblack, he went from, you know, massive 4-man Shockwave to giving Braum a sombrero, as you were, unfortunately, as that didn't hit onto any target of Alpha, and that kind of defeats the purpose of that whole ability as a whole. So, and this is unfortunately something we have repeatedly said when it comes to Hong Kong Attitude. We talked about it back in the draft. This team lives and dies by the performance of the jungle mid, especially here today. Hollow being put down so early could absolutely provide no assistance to his lanes.
Yeah, it lives and dies by the jungle mid, and that comp lived and died by the Shockwave. You had full delivery set. You had Ornn just being an AFK tank. Braum very much the same in that regard. Senna, secondary support. It was all about the Orianna damage come the mid to late game. And Moonblack, with the rare fumble, just establishing why HKA, while having some of the highest highs in the league, are also just looked at as being wildly inconsistent.
Yeah, unfortunately there, it's consistency, and that's been the name of the game when it comes to HK on whether or not they are actually able to take home victories themselves. And Alpha, on the other hand, this roster swap bringing in World 6 has been able to pay dividends when he's on Graves. At least in game we did see from him a little bit underperforming, but so far on his carries, looking pretty damn clean.
Yeah, definitely really good map movement by him to really pressure out and shut down Hollow. This is a replay of where Yosan again fishes for another hook and really turns it, because HK looked like they could take control of this game after stealing that Drake and winning a team fight, and yet Yosan was having none of it. Hard commit, sets up the rest of the team, Chen9 in with the suplex that was stolen, the Wukong to boot, and just complete backline decimation from the side of Alpha.
Yeah, unfortunately, follow-up just wasn't there as we take a look toward our post-game graph. Yeah, never really a slump coming out here from Alpha. There was the one little dip here and there that HK were able to find a good turnaround, especially in toward that early game. And I feel like this game could have been very different if there was just enough follow-up on that 4-man Shockwave that was put out by Moonblack. If they were able to get those shutdowns, get that gold onto some of these carries, then there could have been a chance here for HKA. But I felt right at the point where Hollow was, you know, still level 3 at 7 minutes, kind of told the story of this game.
Yeah, Alpha just on the up and up from minute 1 pretty much, largely because World 6 just went crazy, denying Hollow the ability to play the game. Shout out to, you know, Bush being unfettered by the fact he was being held down in lane by an Ornn of all things. And actually, surprising amounts of damage coming out of Chen9, who felt completely invisible for the first 10 minutes, but really did a lot to secure aggressive pushes that allowed the Graves to really have full dominion over the map.
Yeah, and he is going to be getting our MVP on the Silas, picking up the 3 kills and 6 assists with no deaths, looking rather good himself. And like we mentioned, early lane may have been having some difficulty up against that Orianna, similar to what we saw during our earlier game with Nova, but was able to come out ahead alongside World 6. And for Alpha, I think they'll be rather happy with that match. And if you are a HKA fan, sorry to say, still not looking all that clean and still having difficulties. So we'll have to see whether or not they are able to fix things up ahead of playoffs. Still plenty of games left to come, but unfortunately there's only 4 days still. So it's a tight schedule. We'll see whether or not HKA or Alpha are able to do that. We are going to go ahead and take a short break though, and when it comes back, it'll be our final game of the night. Taipei J Team taking on Liab Esports to end off day 1.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.